That's the slope of the tangent line. So thinking of it geometrically, what is the slope of y equals some sort of constant? This is a horizontal line, right? Tangent line. Sorry, I'm sick. So, okay, it's 0. What's the slope if you have the function is m times x? It's just m. Now, if I have f of x equals x squared, the derivative is 2x. I'm looking for patterns. If I have x cubed, the derivative is 3x squared. If I have x to the 4th, it's 4x cubed. What if it's x to the 5th? Yeah. That's the shortcut. You could challenge it. Maybe we will look at it. Why is it that? And what do? You pull this exponent down in front, multiply by whatever's there, and decrease this by 1. Subtract 1. So what's the general rule? That's it. Unfortunately, though, in your homework quiz today, you got to use your definition of a derivative. Why it works? It will, but not today. Okay? I challenge you, go through the limit definition of x to the n and see if you can see why it works. Okay, what's the slope of this one? Yeah, it's just k. Now, we have some rules here that we have to follow. And if I do the derivative of a sum or difference, if you're adding or subtracting, and I do the derivative, I can take the derivative of each one separately. That's nice. So h prime of x is equal to g prime of x plus or minus, depending on what you started with, f prime of x. That one's okay, but the product is not. It's not f prime times g prime. I wish it were, but it isn't. What it is it's the first function times the derivative of the second plus the second function times the derivative of the first. And you have to memorize it. Proving it's tricky. That one's tricky. Proving the n to x minus n minus 1 is not that hard. Okay. If you have a product, you cannot multiply the two derivatives together. You have to take the first function times the derivative of the second plus the second times the derivative of the first. Just, if you learn it in words, that's the easiest. Does it matter if I switch the order here? Nope. This is addition, it's commutative, no problem. Now, the quotient rule. Quotient means the answer after you've divided. I'll do it two ways. I start downstairs. I start in the denominator and go up, and then I come back down. So it's the denominator times the derivative of the numerator. And because I'm going back down, this is going to be negative. It's just my way of remembering it. And then it's the numerator times the derivative of the denominator. It looks like the product rule. I'm not done, though. It looks the same, except this plus is now a minus. Does order matter? Yes. So I do have to have the right order here. And it's over the denominator squared. And we never, ever multiply that out. You just leave it. Unless it's something simple. If it's a binomial, you don't want to multiply it out. Now, here's the little trick to doing this. H of x is equal to high over low. Okay? So, h prime is equal to low d high, because d means derivative of, minus high, I put a prime in there, d low, over the square of low we go. That's the top one, the high one, and then the low one. I prefer to say I start in the basement and I go upstairs and go back down. So it's the denominator. So it's low times the derivative of high, low d high, minus high d low, over the square of low we go. Just a little rhyme to remember it. Yeah, most kids like it. Not easily. Not easily. I'll look at it, see if I can do it, but it's not an easy proof. Okay, that's it. That's the rules. We haven't done composite functions. That will be another day. Way in the future. Okay, so let's try some problems. Okay, so you have that in front of you. So when I do the derivative of 3x to the fifth, I'm going to use f prime of x because that's easiest. You have the 3. You ignore the 3. You can pass the constant right through the derivative operator. So it's 3 times, and then you put that exponent in front, and then decrease the exponent. Could I have gone right to the answer? Yes. So it's 15x to the fourth. And we're not going to worry about simplifying things. So what about 2? F prime of x. Now I'm going to multiply these guys. What am I going to get? Because I don't want to write all the steps. Negative 16 x to the 7th. You multiply this exponent times the negative 2. You decrease that by 1. And it's minus 2/3. I am going to write this out. And then what's this going to give you? Now be careful. It's going to be what in front? Negative 9. And you got to go down. Negative 10. Is it easy to write negative 8 and go the wrong way? Very easy. And I've been doing this for a long time. And we can simplify that, or we don't have to. Now, on the exam, on the multiple choice, you're going to have to. But right now, my goal is, can we do the derivatives? I mean, I'm going to go ahead and reduce it because it bothers me. Because 3 goes in once, goes in 3 times. So I'm going to get negative 16x to the 7th. And a negative 2 times a negative 3 is a plus 6x to the negative 10. But when we quiz on this, I don't care if you simplify. There'll be someplace I might have you simplify because I know where you're going to make a mistake. Okay, ready for number 3? Product rule. I just took 2/3 of 9. Okay, so I leave the first one. It doesn't matter. Times the derivative of the second one. What's the derivative of 2x minus 7? 2 plus, then you leave 2x minus 7 alone and take the derivative of the first, which is 3. And I don't care if you simplify that. Products rule. This is a product. I could multiply that out first, or I could just use the product rule. Should we check and see if this works? This would give me 6x plus 10 plus 6x minus 21, which would give me a total of 12x minus 11. Did I do that right? What if I multiply that out? That's 6x squared. Can you do the middle terms in your head? This is plus 10 minus 21 is minus 11x minus 35. What's the derivative of that? 6x squared is 12x. The derivative of this minus 11x is minus 11. So do you want to square it out, or do you want to use the product rule in this next one? So this is minus 5x plus 8 times minus 5x plus 8. There is another way to do it. It's a composite function, but we don't know how to do that yet. So minus 5x plus 8 times the derivative of the second one, which is negative 5, plus, then I leave this one alone, minus 5x plus 8 times the derivative of that one, which is negative 5. And you could add it all up if you wanted to. What's the derivative of minus 5x plus 8? What's the slope of this line? Negative 5. That's all its derivative is. It's a slope. So it was if it had been x squared, then I'd have to use the power rule. is the slope of this? 2. That's where this 2 is. I take 3x plus 5 times the derivative of 2x minus 7 plus, and then I leave 2x minus 7 alone to take the derivative of that. You have to do this f g prime plus g f prime. That's what the product rule is. You have to memorize it. It's a formula. There are some things you have to memorize. That's one of them. Ready? Now these get a little more complicated. They're together. Okay, so let's try this one. So I'll leave the first one alone, but it doesn't matter. Okay, what's the derivative of the second one? What's the derivative of this? Negative 12, right? Multiply these together and subtract the exponent. What's the derivative of 2? You have a question? No, we just do it. Because it's negative 3, and then you do the derivative of x to the 4th, which is 4x to the 3rd, and that gives you negative 12. What's the slope of a constant 2? 0. So I'm not going to write the 0. Is that okay? And I'm sorry I ran out of space there because that one's going to be in the way. That one looks ugly. Okay, plus, and then I write minus 3x to the 4th plus 2 times the derivative of this big long trinomial, which is not going to be 0. What's the derivative of x to the 8th? No, bring the 8 down. 8x to the 7th. What's the derivative of negative 1x? Negative 1, because that's the slope. And then what's the derivative of 3x squared? 6x. We still have to, Yes, take the derivative, because you're taking the derivative of each term, because I can take the derivative of a sum or difference. Because what's the slope of minus 1x? Not negative 1x, but negative 1. Because what's the exponent here? It's 1 times negative 1, which gives you negative 1, and then what that leaves us with x to the 0, which is 1. Yeah, you got to ask those questions. There's no mystery here. Okay, let's do the same problem, but let's divide. And remember, it's low to high, so it's the low one. No, we're going to leave that, and I'll deal with simplifying that at a later time, like next May, April, May. Because to simplify that, this first one's not hard. The second one's harder. Not particularly hard, but it's tedious. And instead, I would actually factor it. But that's a different lesson. Mine, you can leave it. I want you just to get the derivatives. So this is where it's even more important to check the solutions online. You got to look at the solutions online if you don't want to simplify things, because if you check with the back of the book, it'll be simplified. I'm going to leave this one too. Okay, so remember this one? This is high, and this is low. So we start low, and now I want the derivative of the upper one, which we just did. What's this x to the 8th? 8x to the 7th minus 1 plus 6x. Whoops. And then what's the sign that's going to be next? Minus. Minus. And then it's going to be, okay, it's low to high minus high below. I'm going to squish it in there, maybe. And what's the derivative of this? I can maybe kind of get it in there. It's what? Negative 12x cubed over the square of whole we go. And do not waste your time multiplying that denominator. We're never going to multiply it. Ask. Just following a formula. High, high d low, over the square of low we go. Low d high minus high d low over the square of low we go. Sorry, what? What's the derivative of a constant? 0. It's a horizontal line. What's the slope of horizontal? Yes. Okay. Now I can do the quotient rule on this one. Or I could be more clever, because I don't like the quotient rule. That's what we just did. Quotient rules, the rule for derivatives with division. I mean, we can do that. It's the low times the derivative of the numerator. What's the derivative of the numerator? Because we should do a little practice with this. 3x to the 9th is what? Everybody should be doing it. What is it? 27x to the 8th minus, Haley, what's the derivative of x squared? 2x plus, and the derivative of 5x is 5. Minus the numerator, again I'm sitting in the corner, times the derivative of the denominator. Is what? 2x over the square of the denominator. Question? Correct. Okay. Well, I can do that and I can simplify it, but I don't want to. You know what's easier way to do this problem, actually? Why don't we just divide this? This really is 1 over x squared times this. Because you're going to run into problems where you're going to want to do this. Can't I just divide x squared into each one of those? And when we divide, what happens to our exponents? What do we do with them? They subtract, right? So when I divide this into this one, this gives me 3x to the what? Just subtract 9 minus 2 is 7. What happens when I divide x squared into x squared? I get 1. And here's your problem. I'm going to have 5x over x squared. That can be simplified. What's that going to give me? 5 over x, but I don't know what to do with 5 over x unless I do the quotient rule. Why don't I write this with a negative exponent? 5x to the what? Negative 1. That's what I do. If I have something in the denominator, if I can bring it in the numerator, then I can just use the power rule. Otherwise, I have to use the quotient rule. But 5 over x is equal to 5x to the negative 1. They're the same things. That's what this is. This line here is the same as that line. I'm just dividing it. Some of you want to divide x squared just into one of them, but you can't. You have to go into all of them. Or you could factor out x's. I mean, there's a lot of ways to think about it. Now, this is my function. This is f of x. This is f of x. I still haven't done the derivative, have I? But the derivative for this one's a lot easier than that one. What is it? 21x to the what? 6. What's the derivative of a minus 1? 0. Because it's the slope of a horizontal line. And what's this going to give you? So you multiply negative 1 times 5, minus 5, and this goes down. Negative 2. That's the same as that if I want to multiply all that out. Personally, I don't want to you. It'll be the same. Because don't forget you have to divide by x to the 4th. I mean, because you're going to get x to the 10th. It wouldn't hurt us to do it, but I want to give you time to do your quiz. Yes? Yes. I prefer that you divide it because it's easier. And I didn't have an example here, but what if I have this? What if y is equal to the square root of x? How would I do that one? I would write the square root of x as x to the what power? 1/2. Does this work for fractions? Yeah. So what's y prime? It's 1/2 x to the, I have to take 1/2 minus 1, so it's negative 1/2. That's it. That's all there is. So I don't know what the book looks like. You know the book. You know how the book is. I shouldn't hide my recorder because I can't get to it now.